Hello and welcome to Diabetes Connections in the News. I'm Stacey Sims. Every other Friday, I bring you a short episode with the top diabetes stories and headlines happening now. In the News is brought to you by Edgepark. Simplify your diabetes journey with Edgepark. Our top stories this week, all about cost. A new study shows that Ozempic could be manufactured for less than $5 a month, even as Novo Nordisk charges close to $1,000 per month for the injection in the U.S. before insurance. This is a study from Yale University and King's College Hospital in London, along with the nonprofit Doctors Without Borders. Researchers found that a month's supply of the treatment could be manufactured for somewhere between 89 cents to $4.73. They evaluated manufacturing costs along with profit margin with an allowance for tax to provide those estimates, which they call cost-based prices. The list price for a monthly package of Ozempic is $935.77. In a statement this week, Novo Nordisk declined to provide production costs for Ozempic or Wegovy, the same drug packaged as a weight loss treatment. But the Danish drug maker noted it spent almost $5 billion on research and development last year and will spend more than $6 billion on a new deal to boost manufacturing to meet demand for drugs like this. By the way, separate research from University of Liverpool, along with another team, has found that the drug could be produced for $40 a month. Update on the product shortage from Eli Lilly. I'm being careful not to say insulin shortage because it looks like this is actually a vial shortage. The 10 milliliter vial of Humalog and insulin Lispro injection are or will be temporarily out of stock at wholesalers and some pharmacies through the beginning of April, said Lilly in a recent statement. The company said it is continuing to make the vials and will ship them as soon as they can. They recommend patients talk to their doctor about switching to a pre-filled pen or, quote, other insulin treatment option. Why did this happen? A Lilly spokesperson says the dynamic nature of insulin supply and demand, coupled with a brief delay in manufacturing, led to the temporary supply constraint. Okay, editorial comment here. This sounds like complete nonsense. I have reached out to Lilly. If you're listening, we would love to have you on the show. For reference, Lilly took in $2.1 billion for the fourth quarter of 2023. That's 3 months net income. So buy some vials and fix this. Okay, back to the news. Medicare will now cover certain weight loss drugs, but not for weight loss, only when they are prescribed to prevent heart attack and strokes. This includes Novo Nordisk's Wegovy, the medication that is identical to Ozempic, but is approved to treat obesity. Last month, the FDA expanded Wegovy's uses, making it the first medication to reduce the risk of heart attack, stroke, and cardiovascular death in people with heart disease and obesity. Since 2003, Medicare has been banned from covering weight loss medications because they are considered cosmetic. This, even though many studies have shown people living with obesity and excess weight are at greater risk for other health conditions, and Medicare hasn't been allowed to negotiate medication prices until recently. The Inflation Reduction Act passed in 2020, so now Medicare has entered the first cycle of price negotiations for only 10 drugs. This is not one of them. Right now, Medicaid offers more flexibility than Medicare on weight loss medications, but it depends on where you live. As of 2023, the states that offer Wegovy and another weight loss drug, Saxenda, without restrictions include California, Delaware, Minnesota, Rhode Island, Virginia. 5 other states also cover Wegovy or Saxenda, but with restrictions. Those are Georgia, Michigan, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. A lot of information here. I always link up my sources and the articles with links over at diabetes-connections.com. We continue, though, with these drugs. A new study in the peer-reviewed Diabetes Technology and Therapeutics evaluated the use of tirzepatide, Mounjaro, in overweight or obese adults with type 1. Tirzepatide is approved for managing type 2 diabetes. I'm going to use the brand name Mounjaro here because we are all more familiar with it. In this study, the people with type 1 who took it reported significantly larger declines in BMI and weight. A1C decreased as early as 3 months in the treated group and was sustained through a 1 year of follow-up. Insulin dosing decreased as well. We've been told that there isn't a big enough market for people with type 1 for these drugs, so that studies may not happen, but it looks like they are moving forward. Very promising, but a long way to go. State caps on insulin costs lowered privately insured patients' out-of-pocket spending, but did not appear to increase insulin use. These caps, which range from $25 to $100 for a month's supply, were associated with about a 17% relative decrease in consumer out-of-pocket costs. However, the savings were over twice as large, 40%, among patients using health savings accounts. However, insulin use remained constant for nearly all populations, though it increased for lower income patients with HSAs in states with $25 to $30 caps. Previous studies found Medicare enrollees' prescription fills rose after Medicare implemented that $35 cap on monthly insulin costs. This has been reported in a few ways. I'm not sure why it's surprising that those with the lowest income and on government health care, Medicare, used more insulin when the price went down, especially because these researchers say those with private insurance are on average healthier and less likely to need more insulin, and they might be less affected by caps because they have more resources to afford the medication. Right back to the news, and we have a long way to go. We got a lot more coming up, but first, Diabetes Connections is brought to you by Edgepark. Life is busy. Managing diabetes is a daily commitment, sometimes an hourly commitment. Edgepark can help you say goodbye to the worry of managing your diabetes supplies with a variety of cutting-edge insulin delivery systems from brands like Medtronic and Tandem. Plus, Edgepark accepts most insurance plans and handles the paperwork, so you can simplify your life, your diabetes care, and your budget in one click. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Edgepark logo. Now back to the news and new FDA clearance for the Twist automated insulin delivery system. This is hardware from DECA Research and will be brought to market by Sequel MedTech. The software, Tidepool Loop. DECA is the company behind the Segway. Remember that? And a lot of other technology. Its founder, Dean Kamen, invented the first wearable insulin pump decades ago. The Twist looks like a small flat disc. It does have a tube. The company says it is the first drug delivery system that measures both insulin volume and flow with each microdose. The system is cleared for use in individuals age 6 and older with type 1 diabetes. I am set to talk to Sequel MedTech in just a couple of weeks. My first question, how do you say this? Because the Twist is spelled with 2 I's. Do we pronounce them both? All right, lots of questions for them, and that'll be coming up in a future episode. Use of continuous glucose monitoring by patients with type 1 is associated with lower odds of developing diabetic retinopathy. This is a new study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association Network Open. The researchers found that use of CGM was associated with a lower risk of developing diabetic retinopathy and lowered the risk of the disease progressing. They suggested that the use of a CGM reduces variability in glucose levels. A new analysis pouring cold water on the effectiveness of widely used digital diabetes management solutions. Before we go further, and this was buried in most of the articles I saw about this, they're referring not to digital solutions like AID systems or CGM, but to what's called digital health tools that support people with type 2 diabetes. Tools from Dario Health, Gluco, Livongo, Verily, and Virta Health. This is from the Peterson Health Technology Institute, and they say these diabetes apps do not deliver meaningful clinical benefit and result in increased healthcare spending. Now, this organization's first analysis they launched last summer as an independent evaluator of digital health technology. And finally, will we look to cows for insulin production? A genetically altered brown bovine cow produced human insulin in its milk. These results were published in the biotechnology journal Trusted Source, indicate a potential solution for mass-produced insulin. Of course, a lot more research needs to confirm these findings. This is all about genetically modified animals. One researcher says this study highlights the promise this field has in applications for improving health, while the researchers here describe the practical challenges they experienced in this proof of concept study. The implications for increasing the supply of an essential drug could be very impactful. So basically, a long way to go, but wow, that is really interesting. And if you want to read up exactly how they did it and how much insulin this cow is producing, again, all of the links are at diabetes-connections.com. And that is it for In the News. We'll be back in just a couple of days with another long format interview show, whether you're listening on the Diabetes Connections feed or Diabetes Connections Type 2. I hope you will share this episode with a friend. and let them know that we have information that can really help them when it comes to diabetes. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Stacey Sims. I'll see you back here soon. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.